The Los Angeles Lakers are one of the most storied franchises in the league's history, with 17 championships and a long list of old-time greats having played in the purple and gold. It is hard to remember every player who has donned the colors. I want to talk about one of those guys who may have been lost in the shuffle.
10th pick in the 2005 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Andrew Bynum from St. Joseph's High School in McCutcheon, New Jersey.
Drafted at just 17 years old, straight out of high school, Andrew Bynum came into the league as the youngest player to ever be drafted. Bynum would hold on to the title of the youngest player in the league even in his second season at just 19 years old. His rookie season was uneventful to say the least. Bynum played just 7 minutes per game and played in a little more than half of the games this season. To say Bynum was a raw player was an understatement. He came into the league with pretty much zero offensive game outside of just being big and dunking, but Bynum was drafted for his size at 7 foot, his rebounding skills, and his defensive upside. Sophomore year is where he showed real flashes. With both of the Lakers' other centers injured to start the year, Bynum got called up. In his first 10 games ever as a starter, he performed well. He put up 10 points and 7 rebounds while shooting 56% from the field and 76% at the line on 4 attempts. The Lakers also performed really well, going 7-3 over the first 10 games of the season. Bynum would once again get moved back to the bench after Kwame Brown came back fully healthy. Once Kwame went down with another injury, Bynum would once again get thrown into the starting lineup midway through the season. In his second stint as a starter, Bynum held it down once again, this time for 33 games. In those games, Bynum dropped 9 points, 8 rebounds with 2 blocks on 54% from the field and 67% at the line. These, however, weren't as hot, going 13 and 20 over this same stretch. Bynum would play all 82 games in his second year, the first and only time he did so in his career. By this season, Bynum had began to show real improvements on the offensive side of the ball. His touch around the rim massively improved, going from just 38% on layups in his first year to 58% in year 2. Bynum also began flashing signs of a post game built off of a clean hook shot. In his third year, still at only 20 years old, Bynum looked like he was ready to take a leap. After starting the season still coming off the bench, then starting, then going back to the bench, Bynum would become the full-time starter on December 9th. Andrew looked like he was starting to make a case for being an all-star. In the next 16 games as a full-time starter, Bynum would put up 16 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists with 2 blocks, shooting 67% from the floor and 70% at the line. The Lakers were rolling, going 13-3 over this stretch, but it would all come to a screeching stop when Bynum would go down with a knee injury against the Grizzlies. Bynum would miss the rest of the Lakers season and that year's playoffs. Though his season was cut short, Bynum once again improved as a post player and showed that his hook shot was starting to fall at a really high clip of 54%. Into the 2008-9 season, Bynum was fully healthy and ready to help the Lakers win a championship. Bynum started off the year good, but as the year went on, he started to look like how he did pre-knee injuries in the previous year. Bynum was healthy and played the first 46 games of the season. In Bynum's last 12 games of the season, he was cooking. He was dropping 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks a night while shooting 61% from the floor and 75% at the line. But just like the year before, Bynum would go down with a knee injury against the Grizzlies right when he was starting to heat up. Bynum would come back in the last 4 games of the regular season and play in the playoffs, but he had to do so wearing a knee brace, something that he would be wearing moving forward in his career. It was clear that it was giving him problems, and Bynum played limited minutes in the playoffs, just 17 minutes per game. Put up an okay 6-4, but did so on poor shooting, just 46% from the field. In the 2009-10 season, Bynum was fully healthy to start the year and stayed pretty healthy for most of it, playing 65 out of the first 69 games. Bynum had multiple great stretches through this season, and he started off really hot and was putting up 18-9. He then cooled off for a little bit before ending the year off well. Bynum ended the year averaging 15 points, a career high, 8 rebounds, and a block, while shooting 57% from the field and 74% at the line. By this point in his career, Bynum had established himself as a real low-post scoring threat alongside Pau Gasol, and the combination of the two 7-footers gave the Lakers a lot of easy putback opportunities, something that Bynum himself was elite at capitalizing on. Unfortunately, Bynum injured his knee for the third year in a row in Game 6 of the first round of the playoffs. He played through the injury to give the Lakers the best chance of repeating. Bynum had a pretty decent playoffs despite the injury, and the Lakers won back-to-back championships that year. However, Bynum would need surgery to fully repair his knee, something that Bynum knew and still waited to get the surgery later on into the offseason, which led him to not only missing training camp but also the first 24 games of the Lakers season. Now in his 6th season and coming off 3 knee injuries, there were real concerns about his health and keeping him healthy for the playoffs. Bynum looked solid in his first 16 games back and was putting up 11-7, but it was clear his role on the team had changed. At the All-Star break, head coach Phil Jackson told not only Bynum but the media that his new role and focus on the team was to rebound and defend. Bynum took to this new role in stride. Over the next 21 games, Bynum put up 11 points, 13 rebounds with 2.5 blocks, completely locking down the paint and controlling the glass for the LA Lakers. Bynum kept up this high-intensity play in the first round of the playoffs against the New Orleans Hornets, finishing the series with an 18-12 and 2 games to close the Hornets out. In the next round, though, the Lakers would face up against a Mavs team that just had their number and swept them. Bynum was solid, having a good 21-10 game in a close Game 3 loss, but it wasn't enough. This would also be one of the more disappointing parts of Bynum's career, where he pretty much intentionally tried to injure JJ Barea at the end of Game 4 with a hard foul, which would lead to him being suspended. The 2011 and 12 season was the one and only year of peak Andrew Bynum we got to see. He was still only 24, but in his 7th season, Bynum was a real vet of the league and under a new head coach was able to dominate as a two-way big. Andrew would start the season suspended for hitting JJ Barea in the previous season's playoffs, but once he came back, Bynum came out of the gates speeding. In his first game back, Andrew dropped 29 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Bynum was great this year, putting up 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 blocks while shooting 56% from the floor and 69% at the line. Bynum had multiple crazy games this year, my favorites being a 30-rebound, 16-point game against the Spurs, 21-22 game, and a 37-16 game against the Grizzlies. Bynum would be named to his first All-Star team and was an All-NBA second-team player this year, both being the first and only ones of his career. Bynum kept up his high level of play in the postseason, where he put up 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Bynum had really improved his offensive game by this point in his career. Bynum had a legitimate hook shot he could go to going left or right on either block. He had very quick moves in the post that allowed him to get by slow-footed bigger defenders or just kind of lackadaisical bigs. He was able to finish around the rim at a high rate, and his footwork was really high level and very smooth at this point. Bynum was also great at fighting for low post position without the ball, setting up down low in the paint, getting a quick entry pass, and then going right up for it for a bunny. Bynum was pretty decent at passing out of double teams and didn't just throw the ball away when he was pressured like some other big men. This was probably the most complete his game had ever been on both sides of the ball. However, the Lakers team around him wasn't as good, and the Lakers were bounced in the second round by the Thunder. This would be the last game Bynum played in a Lakers uniform. Bynum was traded in the 2012-2013 offseason in a 4-team trade that would send Dwight to the Lakers. The 76ers weren't sure if they wanted Bynum due to his knee injury history, and Bynum would go through orthokine treatments on both knees in hopes of helping them heal. This is pretty much when they take your blood out of your body, inject it with like proteins and other stuff, and then re-inject it into your body in hopes of stimulating muscle growth, I guess, to hope that your muscles heal. This did not help Bynum, and he would miss the rest of the season before getting knee surgery. Following season, Bynum signed with the Cavs, where he would play the first game of the season coming off the bench. Bynum would begin to start and play regularly by the 11th game of the season. He played for the Cavs until December 28th, where he was suspended indefinitely for conduct detrimental to the team. Bynum would then be traded along with picks to the Bulls for Luol Deng. He was waived by the Bulls the same day. Bynum was then picked up by the Pacers, but he only played 2 games with the team before his knees sidelined him for the rest of the season. The 2013-14 season would be his last in the NBA. Andrew Bynum would go down as a 2-time champion, 1-time All-Star, and 1-time All-NBA second-team player. Right when he was beginning to peak at just 24 years old, injuries injuries completely derailed his career and has left me wondering what could have been. Would Andrew have been able to etch his name into one of the most storied franchises history, not just as a role player on championship teams, but as a legitimate star? I feel like Bynum was on the path to greatness and could have kept the Lakers in contention with an aging Kobe pre his own injury, but we will just never know. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day. Take it easy.